Welcome to the Scrum.org Community Podcast, a podcast from the home of Scrum. In this podcast, we feature professional Scrum trainers and other Scrum practitioners sharing their stories and experiences to help learn from the experience of others. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scrum.org Community Podcast. My name is Dave West, a CEO here at Scrum.org and the host of today's podcast. I'm very fortunate to have a fantastic professional Scrum trainer here with me, Shirley Santiago. Welcome, Shirley, to the podcast.
Thank you, Dave. It's my honor to be here as one of your guests. I'm excited to share with you anything under the sun. Maybe I can share my experiences today with you and the community who are listening.
Great. That's what we're hoping for. And thank you for spending the time with us today. So let's just kick this off really simply. Could you perhaps just give for our listeners a little bit of an introduction for yourself and share a fun fact, just to sort of connect you to our audience, Shirley?
All right. I'm Shirley. I'm based here in the Philippines. I'm one of the Scrum.org professional Scrum trainers. By profession, I used to work in the IT industry for more than 2 decades. Right now, I have my own company, Agile Code Consulting, working with different organizations in Asia and also in the Middle East, helping them with organizational agility. I have 2 kids, and I work with my husband also in our consulting firm.
So what about a fun fact, Shirley? What would surprise our listeners?
I used to be a Karate Do black belter back in the day. So when I was in high school and college, I played arnis, martial arts sticks, and also Karate Do. Not a lot of
Wowzers.
people know about that.
I didn't know about it, Shirley, and I've known you for 5 years or so. So that is a surprise. I guess there's a lot of parallels that maybe we'll talk about later between learning something in that way, when it's some sort of martial arts, some sort of technique like that, and the practice of agility, particularly around the discipline and the continuous learning. But that's not what we're here to talk about, though we may possibly talk about it a little bit. So you've got your PST today, training throughout the Philippines, Asia, sometimes the Middle East, teaching people about agility, helping them with their journeys, transformations, etc. But how did you get to this point? You were in IT, you're in technology. Can you tell me the journey? I think our listeners would love to hear your journey, because I think it's a little bit inspirational.
All right. So in 2007, I was working in a consulting firm, and that's where I first able to practice being a Scrum Master. And I really like the experience coming from mostly traditional product development. So I got interested in Scrum and how the attributes of Scrum that can make organizations successful. So that was in 2007, and then sometime in 2013, I attended a formal training in Scrum, and I really got interested. And when I said during that time that when I go back to work, I'm going to teach my colleagues. So all throughout the training, that's what I had in mind, and I jot down a lot of notes. And truthfully, when I go back to work, I had some sessions with my current team at that time, and I did brown bag sessions. I taught them about what I've learned from the formal training, and my hope at that time was how um, we can teach our other colleagues who are interested in this new kind of mindset. So that was in 2013. 2014, after doing a lot of knowledge sharing with my colleagues, and usually we do it after office. So 6 to 9 p.m., I will transfer to another building and then teach my peers And it started to become popular in our organization, and more and more are registering to this knowledge sharing sessions. And in 2014, I I found out the Scrum.org website and the opportunity to become a professional Scrum trainer. And so at that time, I tried to look at what are the requirements, and I thought that I I fit some of those requirements to become a PST. So I submitted my application. Um, the director, Daphne Harris, reached out to me and said that I can start with my journey. And then she also introduced me to a mentor. Her name is Jill Graves, and she's one of the female PSTs who are very supportive in having more women in the PST community. And I believe at that time there were only around 7 female
Yeah.
PSTs when I started. And so she helped me with my journey. I also attended the Professional Scrum Master Train the Trainer in Stuttgart, Germany. My trainer at that time was Gunther Verheyen, who eventually became my mentor, one of my mentors as well, who helped me through my journey, because becoming a PST is a long journey. For some people, it can be shorter, but in my case, it was long. I had to work through a lot of um, different steps on how I can also develop, because I wasn't a trainer really. I was an architect in my organization. I didn't have any experience teaching people, rather than the after work hours knowledge sharing. So I went through the process. I also took some other certifications at Scrum.org that helped me become better in terms of Scrum knowledge. So I took other certifications like product owner,
Yeah.
professional Scrum developer, and then there were mentors who I met during my journey. Another mentor of mine was Peter Gotts, and he was just there to support me along the way. Jill Graves was still there, checking checking me whether, oh, have you done your peer review? Have you taken the next step that is being asked? So they were there being very supportive. And in 2017, I became one of the professional Scrum trainers. I remember I was around 172 when I entered, and I think there were less than 20 female PSTs at that time. And I was so grateful when I got accepted by the community. And I think I'm very privileged to be part of this group, no, of this
Well, I think
PST community.
no, I think we're very privileged to have you. I just want to sort of wind that back. That was quite a long, long journey and quite a few steps along the way. It's great to hear about, the mentoring and the coaching and the support that you got from the community for that journey, which I think, which is a fantastic message. But I just want to go back to that bit about why Scrum. Why professional Scrum? Why you were working away, doing things probably or using traditional approaches. You tried Scrum, you were using Scrum, and then why did it why did it ignite this passion? Because you have invested thousands, maybe tens of thousands of hours in learning about Scrum. You've been all over the world, going to classes, meeting different Scrum practitioners. You talked about Stuttgart. I've seen you here in Boston. I've seen you in lots of different places, actually. What ignited that passion? Can you share that with me?
Why Scrum? Until now, I'm still discovering the reason why why Scrum can really help in organization, and why is it that Scrum helped me become very driven and motivated in my craft. Scrum to me is more than a process. I think a big part of Scrum is the mindset and behavior shift, which I think is very important because not a lot of organizations understand that. Some think that Scrum is just a process, and it's just being used because they want to be agile. I even did some research, and that's where my research is really anchored on. So I'm researching on organizational agility, specifically what are the attributes of Scrum that helps organization in adopting agility. And I found three very important factors. Number one is Scrum helps in innovation. So the frequent inspection, adaptation, creating transparency, I think that's one of the biggest factors in um, being an agile organization. So it motivates me that I can help support organizations in achieving that. Number two is the mindset and behavior. I think that Scrum Masters, for example, can influence a lot in shifting that mindset, no? So that we achieve that paradigm shift, coming from very traditional, going to value-driven type of product development. Number three that emerged in my research is for organization to create some alignment through goals. And when you know that an organization is achieving what they set as their goal, and you are part of that journey, it's really very inspiring and motivating
Yeah.
that you're able to contribute. Yeah.
So
So, yeah.
so let's just summarize that for our listeners. So, that everybody you talk about innovation, but from a personal insights sort of perspective, it's everybody wants to, the happiest times of my life is when I'm creating. I mean, whatever that is, whether that's putting up a shelf, whether that's, that those moments of creation. So that innovation element. The second one is about focusing on outcomes, not work, that mindset, that agile mindset kind of thing. And the third thing is around clearly connecting or not connecting, but at least understanding the goals of why you're there, that goal-driven kind of orientation. And those three characteristics sort of like stood out for you. And
Yes.
And it's interesting that what you said, Shirley, that you've only really realized that recently as you did more research into what actually does Scrum. You start doing it, it's almost as though you're doing a dance, and until somebody videos you dancing, you don't understand how it fits into everything as it were. So I think that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So that you felt this I don't want to say happiness, but this this energy from Scrum, which has driven you on this journey. What do you tell me a little bit about where it, when you work with customers, what's the biggest sort of like aha moment you like to get from your customers when they get those three things, or is it something else?
Well, I find a lot of fulfillment when I see the organizations I'm working with really getting it. Not just because they want to follow a certain kind of process or framework, but when I see organizations using Scrum and really achieving what they want to do, meeting
Yeah.
their goals, being able to move closer to their vision, I think that's very important for us professional Scrum trainers when we're part of that kind of journey for organizations.
Yes, they're starting to deliver value. They're starting to feel like they're actually making progress.
Making their customers happy with the services that they provide. So those are the little things that we don't really realize, but it has a big impact to their organization and even to the society. Because a lot of organizations I'm working with right now are not just from the IT industry. About 80% of the clients I'm working with are non-IT. Banks, insurance companies, fuel, energy, pharmaceutical companies, they're using Scrum as part of their way of achieving business agility.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's when you have I personally when I have those moments with a client where all of those things that stop them from that they thought was stopping them from delivering stuff to their customers and amazing their customers, when those things fall away and they realize that ultimately that most of those things are artificial, and the ones that aren't artificial you can always have a good workaround, right? So I think those moments are great. The last question that I just want to ask, because I want to keep this very focused, we could talk for hours, Shirley, but is around that motivation to become a PST. You went to a class, you've met some fabulous people on the way, but you didn't know that when you decided that you wanted to be a professional Scrum trainer. What was that, in the same way as those three characteristics sort of like made you want to do Scrum or fulfilled you and gave you this fire that's burnt so bright? Why did you want to then pivot that to be a trainer? You were doing a great job Scrum Master, and you could have carried on learning more about Scrum, attending classes. Why the trainer element?
For being a trainer, there are three things that come into my mind. Number one is the sense of purpose when I bring positive change to the people I work with, to my students, and to their organization. So that's the first one. Second is when I can influence the shift in paradigm, the behavior. No, it's hard to change. And when you know that you are contributing because you are a trainer, um, you're part of the learning and development in the organization or to an individual, you know that I'm being able to serve my purpose. So that's connected to my first one. Number three is as a trainer, I can help in promoting a sense of community in Scrum teams or even multiple Scrum teams who are working together in developing product. So to me, those are very important things that helps me in staying as a professional Scrum trainer and wanting to be able to promote more, globally.
I love that element. That's a surprising. It's something that I've learned since being the CEO at Scrum.org. I didn't realize the importance of community, of networks, I understood the importance to my network. Obviously, that's the reason why I'm here. I met Ken 20 something years ago, but I didn't ever really understand the power that trainers have creating these networks of change. And I think that's a really interesting element to the motivation of becoming a trainer. Well, thank you very much for spending the time today, Shirley. Thank you. I know it's a time zones wise, it's always a challenge. So I appreciate you staying up late to talk to me and to record this for our listeners. I guess the takeaways that I would just like to send, that what I've learned is I really liked how you described why Scrum for you. I love the thing about innovation or creating. I think that's important. I love that concentrating on going from work to outcomes, and I really like that focus on goals. Those three things obviously come out very strongly in our classes, but I think that I've not seen them written quite like that, and that certainly connected with me. And I hope that did for you listeners as we went through this podcast. Well, thank you for your time, Shirley. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for listening. For those people that have dialed in and listened to today's podcast, I'm your host, Dave West, and I'm here with Shirley Santiago from the Philippines, talking about her journey. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Dave. Bye.